Hey, I'm Jonathan Blow. I'm lead designer and or programmer and or I run the company on this game, The Witness. It's a game where you explore and solve puzzles, and you start the game really knowing nothing. You just end up in this tunnel, and there's something at the end of it, and really all that you can do is go forward and investigate. And the game gives you a couple of simple prompts at the beginning to teach you how to interact with it. But for the most part, everything in this game is non-verbal, So here I'm sort of making my way out of this tunnel into this room, and there's stuff out there. And by solving these puzzles, I'm going from an enclosed space to a more open space. And I'm saying solving these puzzles because these aren't really puzzles yet, right? They're just showing me how you interact with the game, which is that you see a panel with some lines on it, and you can walk up and you can sort of trace a line on this panel, and the line can't really cross itself, and you're always trying to get to one of these endpoints, right? So the game starts throwing these mazes at you that are a little denser, but they're not really... this isn't a puzzle-solving challenge yet. It's more of a getting used to what the game looks like, right? The game's easing you in what the game looks like and how it behaves. So if I go over here, I'll just show you a mildly. This is about as tough as like a simple maze would get, where you sort of look at this and you can start on either side, and it's not obvious exactly where to go, but you need to go up there. And it maybe sort of looks like you would get up there from the left side, but actually you do it from the right side. So, whoops, and I even went the wrong way. So anyway, that's the UI to the sort of the most basic level of the game. After I do a couple more of those, I would be able to solve this panel, because it would be all lit up, and get out of this force field area. So I'll just cheat that off for a second. And once I've done that, that was the limited, closed-in tutorial area that just sort of shows you the basics, and once you get out of there, you're on this island that's pretty big, and you can go out to any of these places that you want. It actually stretches pretty far beyond back there. The interesting thing about the game is that the UI is kept very simple, so there's actually not much to tutorialize. So here's, and I'll show you one example of things being kept simple. After those simple line panels that I just did, you come out here, and the next thing you're hit with is like this thing that looks very complicated and intimidating maybe. Like, what even do? I can like trace around it, but it's not accepting that. It's wrong. Like, how do I get into this vault thing? Well, there's not really a way to know yet. Sometimes people sit here for like 5 minutes and try it, but it's unclear. But just out here, in this sort of next area, is all the information that you need to open that thing. So if I come here, I don't have to come here, right? I can just keep exploring. But if I come here and investigate this, I see this. Okay, it's a relatively simple panel. There's only a few ways to go. I can try that, and that doesn't work. And I can try that, and that doesn't work. But that works. And I get a slightly more complicated thing. I still don't really know what I'm doing. I can guess, but, let me just try some more things. That didn't work. And that worked. So with this one, it's like, well, that's a lot like that one with an extra thing, so why don't I do the same thing? And that works. And then it starts getting more complex. So if you look at what's happening, it's like, oh, I'm drawing a line between these, maybe? You might figure out pretty fast. And then you say, okay, if I'm doing that, then I clearly want to do this. Oh, and then there's a group of them, so I clearly want to do something like this. Oh, that's the same thing I just did, which is weird, except the exit's not there, it's on the other side, and my line can't cross itself, so I can't actually do it this way. So even though this is a very subtle change in the puzzle, I end up having to solve it by winding around in the opposite order than I did last time. And then it starts throwing, a disjoint group. So there's up till now there's been all the white stones together, and now there's one way up here. And then there's a blank square. Do I include that with this guy, or do I do like that? Fortunately, it doesn't matter. Here's another one where actually it turns out that I have to go around the other way again, but the reason is different this time. The reason is because the exit is between the disjoint groups, which is kind of interesting. You might not understand that if you don't think about it pretty hard. You might just try it both ways, but it's there to be thought about for people who are interested. And this last one looks like the same sort of thing that I've done, but I obviously can't get to the exit this way, or I can do that, but I won't get that guy. I'm also blocking it this way, so what's going on? Well, in the past few puzzles, you sort of look at this as one group that you have to go around, but actually now you cut through the middle, right? You sort of break the pattern that you've been seeing earlier. So this is sort of one very basic kind of puzzle in the game. You see over here another very basic kind of a puzzle. This one has these little spots in here, and if you go, say, this way, that one flashes at you like it's mad, and if you go this way, that one flashes at you, so pretty quickly people figure out, well, I should just do both of these, and you get it, right? And so from here, you end up in increasingly sophisticated situations. Like I can do that, and this looks a lot like the same thing that I did, but I can't actually solve it the same way because I trap myself, and so on. So by themselves, these start out as relatively simple. I'm solving a logical kind of a problem. But there's something subtle that happened here too, which is that you learned a relatively nuanced idea of how these symbols work, like this one and those ones. You now know what to think when you see them. And so if we come back to this very intimidating door, actually we know everything that we need to solve this now. And in fact, the door is kind of a coded message to you, actually, if you read it, because there's 4 places I could start, right? I always start at one of these circles. But if I try to start here, once I know how this works, I know this is impossible to start, because I need to cover that, and I also need to cover that, but I can't cover both, right? Because my line can't go through itself. So this is actually a very simple message. Don't start there, right? And this one is the same. Don't start here, because I need to cover that, and I need to go between those, but I can't do both. So the only place that I can start is here, and then I know I have to cover these guys, and I have to cover these guys, and I have to go between these guys, and so on, and eventually you get the door open. So what this is, in traditional adventure games, or even action games and stuff, you have key and door puzzles, where you have to go find a key and you open a door. This is the same thing. I need a key to open this door, but the key is only knowledge. The key is only, do I understand what all these things mean? And if I know that, then I can open the gate. So that's one way you get around having a complicated interface, is you just, put it all in the player's head. So you don't need to tutorialize people on inventory if there is no inventory, right? And then, so from there on, the game gets a little more involved. I can give you a little more of a bird's eye view. At the beginning of the game, you see all these panels. You see all these panels where you're working on a problem isolated to the panel, so everything you need to know is in there. But later in the game, the panels become something else. They become a clear indicator that a puzzle exists, but you have to search your environment for clues about really how to deal with that. There's a bunch of different areas, so well, I just streamed all the graphics out. Okay, there we go. You don't fly in the game, so we don't have those kind of visual artifacts. But so the area I covered was just this limited thing, and there's puzzles out across this whole island. It's probably between 20 or 30 hours of gameplay, depending on how good you are at solving puzzles. Maybe even more than that, actually, because we just keep adding stuff to the game. And I don't know, it'll be released next year sometime, toward the middle of the year probably. So console exclusive to PS4 will probably be simultaneous on PC. And then we'll do other platforms later.